Hey, welcome to PNW Enduro. Today I'm on a 2024 KTM 300XC-W TBI. Stoked to try this new bike out. KTM says, they say 90 or 95% new bike. First year TBI for the XC-W models. I'm a big fan of the TBI over the TPI. Throttle response is much better. This bike certainly feels lighter than my Sherco. So quickly go over a couple things that's been changed on this bike. Still running tubes, heavy duty tube in the back. This is AT81EX, so gummy tire that's been added. Different pegs, they are a little bit back, so that's going to affect how the bike feels a little bit. Fan added, which is absolutely necessary on the TBI bikes I should say, both of them really. Protection items, bulletproof rad guards, bulletproof rotor guard. Russ likes to run the Midwest Mountain Engineering clutch lever. AXP racing skid plate. There's probably something else I'm missing that he's added. Still doesn't have the full wrap guards. I find it strange when I ride bikes without full wraps because the bars just feel so much more narrow without the wraps around there. I think that's about it for now. Thanks so much to Russ for letting me take the bike out for the day. This bike shares the same transmission as the XC now. The new transmission is kind of in between what a XC-W and an XC used to be. I really like it. I was always a fan of the old XC transmissions. The new one is even better in my opinion. I never did quite get along with the old XC-W transmission. It was too gappy for my liking. So the new one is a very good mix of both. And it's more similar to what you get on the Betas and the Shercos, I think. So these shrouds are gigantic on the new bike. You turn and it's almost touching the front fender. I noticed the new front fender is wider too. It makes it look shorter to me. I've noticed the steering radius on this bike isn't as good as the older version, the older frame KTM's. It's still really good, just not quite as sharp. First impression, the forks, they're good. They feel really good to me. This bike's got 6 hours on it, so not fully broken in, but I think they're great so far. So this is running in the hot map today. Don't have a map switch for this one just yet. Contrary to what you might have heard about this bike, it's got plenty of power. Yes, the XC is a little snappier, especially if you have it in the hot map, but I think in the hot map on the XC it's just too much. I only ride those in the soft map for these kind of trails. So the power on this feels great. Okay, we're getting into a harder trail. This is a red trail. I'm always nervous. someone else's bike that doesn't have full wraps. Hopefully I'm not going to break any levers. We'll see how the old KTM does in the harder stuff. So this is the kind of stuff that you ride when you get an XC-W, right? Harder stuff. Yeah, the forks are nice and flush. Linkage shock, no complaints so far. Or PDS shock, I should say. Used to linkage on everything. Wondered if KTM was going to ditch the PDS, being that they're trying to amalgamize parts a lot on their different models. But for now, still got it. It's a lot shorter than I remember. So XC versus XC-W. I want to do a full back-to-back comparison on the newest models soon. But right now, with the changes to the XC-W, unless you're a desert guy, I don't see any reason to get the XC over the XC-W. They now have the same forks, same transmission. XC's got the trip computer, which I really like, headlight, which is LED now. And it's a little bit less horsepower, but it's more suited for technical single track in my opinion. Good. I tell you, the suspension on this is really good. Totally stock settings right in the middle. I'm feeling good on this bike. Honestly, if I was buying a new two-stroke today, with what's on the market, this would probably be it. I love my Sherco, but they're kind of falling behind. Still carbureted. I get it the last couple of years with the TPIs, a lot of people switched over because of the performance with the TPIs, the sensor issues, also the suspension. But now we're on TBI. Fuel injected is really good. And they're all going to be fuel injected pretty soon because of European emission regulations. Unless you want to get a Yamaha, it's going to be the same forever. Pretty technical trail, felt really good through there. 2024 KTM 300XC-W. The new TBI version, 95% new bike. Swing arm frame, new forks, TBI motor, electronic power valve. So many changes and it is fantastic. I love this bike. To summarize some of my first impressions on the 2024 KTM 300XC-W, the new TBI motor and electronic power valve are great. Super smooth motor, lots of power, great traction, and it also seems really stall resistant. Again, the TBI motor is a huge improvement over the TPI bikes. This is something KTM should have started off with back in 2018. The only negative I can come up with, and I did notice this a couple times throughout the day, is the steering radius isn't as good as the last generation KTM frames. Some different thoughts on the new frames out there. Some people think they feel a little bit longer, maybe they're a little bit too stiff. I actually got along great with it right away. I feel like I'm over top of the bars more than on previous generations, which is good. And overall, I was immediately comfortable on this bike in this kind of terrain. KTM really hit out of the park with this one. Fantastic bike. Now the suspension. This is easily the best stock suspension off the floor I've ridden on any dirt bike. The new forks are really plush. They feel great. I didn't have too much problem with the PDS shock. I do feel that the bike sits a little high for me, but again, this bike hasn't been set up at all. The sag hasn't been set. Once the sag is set, then the back end should sit a little bit lower. Thanks again to Russ for letting me take the bike out for the day. If you want to see more content on this bike, I'm going to put a link to Russ's channel in the video description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.